Capes on the Couch podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Dr. Issues is a psychiatrist, but he is not your psychiatrist and does not have knowledge of your individual situation. For any personal mental health concerns, please consult your own healthcare providers. For medical emergencies, please call 911 or the designated number in your area immediately. Remember that you are not alone and help is out there.
Hello and welcome to Capes on the Couch, where comics get counseling. I'm Anthony Sitko.
And I'm Dr. Issues.
This is issue 118. I know we just finished Batman month not that long ago, but we're going back to the well with another Batman Rogues Gallery member, Black Mask, courtesy of Ariel, who loves her some Batman. Check out her columns, a long box view on our website, capesonthecouch.com. Before we get started real fast, if you recall last April, Podchaser was doing something really cool called Reviews for Good. Every review left on podchaser.com earns 25 cents towards Meals on Wheels and their COVID-19 relief fund. Well, they're doing that again this year. So every review that is left on Podchaser on a podcast or an episode, they will donate 25 cents. And if the podcast responds to the review, that donation will be doubled. And Libsyn is also matching donations for their hosted podcasts. And since we are a Libsyn hosted podcast, we are asking all of our listeners to go to podchaser.com, like, follow, and subscribe, and leave us a review. We, of course, will respond. And when I say we, I mean me. And that will earn lots of charitable donations towards a very good cause, a big supporters of Meals on Wheels here, and helping get food to folks who need it, especially in this time. You know, we're more than a year into these lockdowns and still dealing with the effects of the pandemic. So leave a review like this one from our friend Ryan from NUEX Guy, who was just recently on our Batman by the Fans episode. Capes on the Couch is one of my favorite podcasts for the unique perspective and insight they bring to the superhero genre. I haven't heard another podcast go so deep into the psychological arguments around these characters. One of the most informative and entertaining podcasts around. Did I mention there are skits as well? Well, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate the 5-star review. You can leave us a review of any star, really, and we will respond to it on Podchaser. And if you send us an email to capesonthecouch@gmail.com with a screen cap of your review and your address, we'll send you a sticker as a way to say thank you. So it's you get donations to charity and a sticker. So go to podchaser.com, find Capes on the Couch, and leave us a rating and review. So getting now into the meat of the episode, Black Mask, Roman Sionis, created by Doug Moench, co-creator of Moon Knight, and Tom Mandrake in Batman number 386, August 1985. You know, I had to throw in the Moon Knight reference there.
I know.
Especially because we just had Ray on our Patreon trade paperback review on a non-Moon Knight book. Roman Sionis, who, if you saw the Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn movie, played, I thought, wonderfully by Ewan McGregor. I thought he did a fantastic job of playing Roman as the absolutely spoiled little brat that he is. So Roman was born to wealthy parents who didn't care for him, and they dropped him on his head early, which possibly caused some mental damage. I don't know how true that is. My son fell on his head when he was a month old, and he's perfectly fine.
My daughter fell on her head. My parents told me about a story where I got dropped on my head. I mean, that's life. Kids fall. It happens.
Yes, as long as it's not from a horrific height.
Of course.
So he hated Thomas and Martha Wayne, who his parents were always sucking up to in an effort to climb the social ladder. So this led to a fascination with masks because he believed that his parents were phony, which, to be fair, they totally were. So once he came of age and became VP of his father's cosmetic company, he burned down the family estate, killing his parents, and took over everything. Except it was revealed that he had no business acumen whatsoever. He ran the company into the ground, and it was rescued by Wayne Enterprises, but he was fired. So he went to his parents' grave, dug up the coffin, and destroyed it. He used the pieces to make a new mask and called himself the Black Mask.
Yeah. So there was a lot of animosity there because Bruce actually at one point did approach Roman because of their experience as a kid, and Bruce saw things a little differently. He actually had a positive memory of some of these things and basically said, I'm throwing you a bone here. We can salvage this, just kind of toe the line for a bit. Like, lay low, don't try and be this big shot, we'll run the show. And Roman didn't take well to that at all.
That's putting it mildly. So he created this gang, the False Face Society, and he began going after the Wayne Foundation and its members, including Bruce. After a failed attempt on Bruce's life, he set fire to his family's house once again, and in a battle with Batman fell into the flames, and this fused the mask to his face. Because comics.
Oh, the amount of fluid loss from that, not to mention... no.
But it's comics, so it works. So during the No Man's Land story, he becomes the head of a cult known for ritualistic scarring, but gets taken down by Batman and Huntress. He later gave up the theme of masked henchmen and decided to just run a simple drug trade. Except he did it in the East End of Gotham, which put him into conflict with Catwoman, who was at this point operating as the sort of anti-heroine overseer of the East End. So he tortures and nearly kills Stephanie Brown during war games. We, the readers, are left to believe that Stephanie actually died. She didn't. She managed to survive it.
Who are you talking about?
Ha 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 ha. And so he ends up getting killed by Catwoman after threatening to kill all of her loved ones. She just straight up shoots him in the jaw. He's resurrected during Blackest Night as a Black Lantern, but was defeated by a combination of Catwoman, Ivy, and Harley Quinn, who trapped him in a pitcher plant that digests his body as quickly as it regenerates, because Ivy can do that. So in the New 52, it gives him largely the same backstory, but now his mask gives him low-level psychic abilities, and he also...
Don't say it. Don't. No, we're not doing this.
He has split personalities.
Okay,
Roman and Black Mask are distinct identities.
Yeah. So thank you very much. And this has been Capes on the Couch. I'm Doc Issues, and we'll see you next week.
And so DC Rebirth abandons the psychic abilities, but has him allied with the Penguin. We're not going to get into the split personalities.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
We're not going to do it.
Thank you.
I'm not even making a joke about it. It's not even one of the issues we're going to discuss.
Good.
So, but we are going to get into the issues now. So the first thing is he has no positive family background whatsoever. None.
Okay. Wait. I'm one of those people. If you challenge me and say something like that, I'm going to try and find something. So, did he end up being a child of means? Yes. Does that automatically mean that he has to be incredibly spoiled? No. We already have plenty of evidence that is not an automatic. That's not something that is considered sufficient to make someone quote unquote spoiled. So when you say no positive family background, let's not go the route.
To be fair, I'm referring to the interpersonal relationships with his family.
Right. I understand that. And
I'm not saying, obviously he has money, but I'm talking about the fact that his parents didn't care for him. He never knew love or affection growing up. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, he knew love as a token, not for himself. It was never applied to him, but it was applied to the status of being a wealthy family. And so the thing that they wanted to demonstrate at all costs was that they were high society. And their social capital was just as important as their financial capital. When you blend those two things together, your self-worth becomes your net worth. That is a bad thing to do. I can't stress that enough. It basically means that you are going to be subject to the whims of everything around you. You are giving up a locus of control. His parents were doing that. And now he's learning that in the outside world, that's the only thing that matters. So it's interesting to see them hobnob the way they did, because all he knows is they care about all those things way more than him. And here's the other really messed up thing. It's transparent. They make it clear that's what they do. And so, yeah, he comes to the right conclusion about his parents, but he doesn't come to the right conclusion about himself. He basically ends up with this idea that for whatever reason, and once again, a dangerous thing to do, because his parents did not give him love, and because his parents did many things wrong, that means that he's not lovable? That's a dangerous thing to think. And yet, as a child, you don't really get the opportunity to pick and choose how you debate that. So he really doesn't have a foil to compare that to. The time that he spends with the Waynes and with Bruce as a child may be that opportunity, but let's be real. No different than right now. If you said you had a child that had unfortunate developmental circumstances, be it physically, psychologically, emotionally, financially, your therapist is not another child. That's that's a potential recipe for disaster, because even if the child is nice, they don't understand the nuance and the need for fostering what an adult brings to the table. But also, I hate to say this, parents, but kids can be cruel. Not that Bruce was, but you could imagine if you have that loner kid, despite all his money, that it's clear his parents are just like throwing him to the wayside. Could you imagine being on a playground, being that loner, regardless of your money, what that could do? I'm bringing all these things up because the more options as to how things can go, the more we can explore, especially in treatment, what we have to deal with besides people like Black Mask. Like these are variations of the same point. You end up with not much to go on, so now you're just filling in the blanks. And a child doing that is incredibly dangerous, because while they have all the potential in the world, that pretty much means they also have the potential to have things go horribly wrong. And let's also, I don't want to ignore this point, even though it may not be something you would call Child Protective Services on, this is abuse. If you are not showing a single ounce of affection or concern or anything else other than your own personal needs when it comes to your child, that is abuse. So if you know someone in that situation, if you can reach out and if you can get the proper assistance for people like that, that's something that would be incredibly beneficial for the world. I don't want to put anybody on the spot. I don't want people to feel pressured, but at the same time, if we're going to talk about something that heady to start off, then might as well get it out there.
Oh, I'm cool with hitting the heavy topics. You know, we never shy away from going after discussions that are deep and powerful and emotional. And this absolutely is child abuse. I would certainly hope and pray to whatever deities exist that none of our listeners treat their children in this manner. Suffice to say, I think if you're listening to the show, it shows that you're already interested in addressing some of these concerns. And I would hope at a minimum that you at least have some modicum of concern for your child. But yes, it is sad to know that even though Black Mask is a fictional character, that there are very real people out there whose only real relationship with their parents is one of power and prestige and superficial nonsense. And I don't know, maybe it's because I love being a father so much, as I know you do as well. It boggles my brain that there are people out there who have kids and don't love them for who they are and don't have this sense of awe and appreciation for their child. I look at my son every day, and yeah, there's times that I get frustrated with the questions that he asks, or if he's requiring a lot of engagement or he needs things that I can't give him at that particular moment, but not for a nanosecond do I love him any less than every fiber of my being. And those moments are few and far between, and they pass. And the overwhelming 99 and 44/100% of the time, I just look at him with awe. Like, I made you and I get to continue to make you every day.
So you're you're saying that your love for your child is pure, like ivory soap.
Yes. Yes, it is. And that's why I always go with the 99 and 44/100%, because I know exactly what that is in reference to. But seriously, it hurts me to think that there are parents out there that don't care for their child as anything more than a status symbol. And you see the results, and they're never good. So now that we've gotten off our parental soapbox, let's talk about the second issue and this obsession with masks. Now, as I said during the background, he realized that his parents were phonies, which they absolutely were. So, credit where credit is due. Even as a young child, he had the awareness and the acumen to say, that's not who you really are, or I don't know who you really are, but whatever it is that you're doing is a facade just so you can make it. And so then this obsession with masks arose, which you're the mental health professional. I'll let you delve into the obvious symbolism here, but it's rooted in that very real trauma. And it's rooted in the very real fact that he's able to call these people out and say, you're full of it.
Yeah, that's totally fair. There are so many ways this can go, though, because at one point, the idea of a mask can be for the sake of protection. We already talked about the abuse. The fact that what he's using initially, you mentioned that he attacked the graves. It's the stone. It's the tombstone. It's everything about it. It's solid. It's a greater feel and protection than what he would have if he just had to face the world, especially after having negative events. It gives that shield that he would want, that he never had before. And the fact that it all happens after destruction indicates I have to take what's left and make it a part of me. And this is what I need to show the world. It is hiding. It is the idea that you can have parts of yourself that are only going to be known to you. And unless you find a way to have that person expose that side, it remains hidden. And that's true for superheroes and everything else in life, really. So there's, that's another aspect of it. The idea that it got fused to his face. To me, that says if you are intentionally using one facade for the sake of another, and you use it either at inopportune times or you use it so much that you start to neglect what's underneath and you're put under intense pressure, in this case, a fire or other extreme circumstance, then whatever is underneath can just simply be pretty much dissolved. So those are just a few things off the top of my head. I mean, the fact that everything that he starts to affiliate himself with, the names of the organizations, the idea of scarring, all of it. The whole point is the world ends up providing a lot of opportunities to inflict its various events on you. And you have many choices. I'm not saying that you can get away from it affecting you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be in one direction. And if you can find a way to either have influence on it yourself, or you find a way to make it a benefit, or you recognize the pain and suffering that is caused and don't allow it to completely destroy you, then masks can be a pretty good thing. But when it leads to outright lying, when it leads to a complete neglect of parts of your life that you should continue to have important, when it becomes almost its own game and you forgot what your purpose was to begin with, that's when masks can be dangerous.
It's funny that you bring up at the very beginning the idea of masks for protection, because we just spent an entire month talking about Batman, who uses the mask as a way to sort of protect himself and the people that he cares about. And, we've discussed that on the show, the idea of secret identities and masks and ways to protect yourself and everything.
Okay, I'm jumping back in because I can't believe we're in the circumstance that we're in, and I feel like I'm avoiding the real obvious thing that we've been dealing with. And I thought that's where you were going when you said we've just been talking. I'm like, okay, you're going Batman. Never mind. We're
yes.
going.
No, you're talking about wearing the mask to prevent the spread of COVID.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
wear your mask, people.
Right. But I'm going to bring it back to that idea with this character. Certain cultures also have their own view of what masks mean. And I'm just going to have some fun with this because it's our podcast. In terms of many parts of the western or rather northwestern part of the globe, when you look at a traditional map, I'm trying not to specifically say a country, many people view it as the idea that you are restricting, that you're creating a barrier to the type of social life we want to live and impinging on freedom. Some people feel that way. Meanwhile, outside of a pandemic, there are certain cultures that view that as an ultimate honor, that as long as you have that on your face and you are doing the best flips in wrestling history, that you're going to be a national hero in the same northwestern part of the globe that is on traditional maps. So the idea that these things can be viewed externally as either these horrible things that we never want to experience ever again, or things that are so ingrained in positive tradition that we'll literally use our entire adult lives to protect them. I feel like that dynamic and just how wide-ranging it is shows just how diametrically opposed you can get on topics like this.
So what you're saying is we need Black Mask in a Luchas de Apuestas match.
Hell yeah.
All right. Put him up against Rey Mysterio. See what happens. The third point, and this is, we've done a lot of villains, obviously, on this show. Most of them, though, are not what I would consider to be traditional sadists. Black Mask is a sadist. Now, we've got a character coming up in next month that is so sadistic he makes Black Mask look like a kid playing with toys. But Black Mask is a sadist, especially with women. For whatever reason, there's this misogyny attached to it that just really amps up the creep factor for me when I read the stories. I don't know why. When I say I don't know why, I mean, I don't know why it's in there, because I don't quite know where it comes from. I just want to clarify. I know why it creeps me out, because I'm a decent, well-adjusted individual, or I'd like to think I am. What I mean is I don't know where it comes from, but I'll let you handle that.
So we've already talked that since birth, it appears that he hasn't had much in the way of support. So you have this opportunity for a person who, let's say, has means, ends up getting a business, doesn't know what to do at all, and has to once again wing it. If you end up in a circumstance where the only feedback you're getting throughout life, if someone gives you attention, is negative, you're going to start to think just maybe that's part of life's goal. In other words, you're trying to get attention. You don't care what it is as long as it's attention. And as a male, and it can be female too. I'm not saying that, but as a let me rephrase. As a person that may have certain biological drives and certain energies, and yes, I don't want to hide around it. It could include sex. The idea that you want to actually have positive experiences, and yet everything around you that you get reactions to are negative, that reinforcement loop is totally distorted. And so now, especially when the only success that you've had, quote unquote, is through doing illegal things and doing hurtful things in an incredibly perverse way, you just corrected a lifelong loop that was backwards and made it worse. So think about it. Which would you rather have? Would you rather have someone that is totally confused by the idea that every time they do something wrong, at least it makes the news, but then they don't really get much from it? Or you at least get to hang around when you do something that is, be it a bank heist or a murder or something like that, some of your cronies actually give you props and you get the traditional quote unquote reward, or you get the money, which can be used, of course. Which side are you going to take? Either side is really bad, but at least with the other side, you get some of the tangible gains. That is a really rough way to go. And the idea that now, if you talk about base interactions with people and you somehow, and I'm not claiming to know where the link comes from with this, that the person's human interaction with you, be it a scream or anything else, is just as beneficial to you, just as pleasurable to you as someone laughing or smiling? Man, oh man. It's not just that that's messed up. Okay, we can all agree on that. Let's be honest. Day-to-day life, that's not common. That's not something that you can just automatically do. You can get little pleasures in life. You can say, all right, I'm going to buy myself, a piece of chocolate or something. I'm going to enjoy that even if I had a rough day. Sadism, you can't just, even masochism is easier because even if it's like very light, like, I can pinch myself and I can create some sort of feeling. But sadism, I don't care what level it is. You can't just go up to someone and say, hey, I'm going to randomly pinch you. Ha ha ha. Like no one, at least not many people really do that. So when you think sadism, it's going to be intense and it's going to potentially have a lasting effect. Now, having said that, people that are into that type of play acting, that know the fantasy as opposed to the reality of it, I'm not trying to shame anyone. I want to make that clear. Okay. But for those that truly that are people doing a lot of damage in the world and consider it to be a personal benefit, then that's just horrible. It's there's nothing I could say that'll change that. And I'll leave it at that because the more even someone like me, the more I dwell on it, the worse I feel. And I'm not going to do that to myself. I want to make sure I continue to have a good day.
Fair enough. And I do appreciate that you drew the distinction between the sexual kink and the real stuff. We're not out here to yuck anybody's yum. what two consenting adults do in their own time is for them. But the real, yeah, I don't want to think about that either, because it's going to put a frown on my face. So I don't want to do that. So we're going to take this opportunity to take a break. When we get back, we'll get into treatment. Stay tuned.
Have you ever been reading through a stack of comics and thought, maybe I should see what this Arkham Asylum game is all about? Or been playing Marvel vs. Capcom and felt like you were at a real disadvantage since you didn't know who half the characters were? Well, Play Comics is the show for you. I'm Chris, and each episode we take a look at video games based on comic properties and how well they stick to that source material. So whether you know the comics and want to know how all these games work, or you know the games and want to find out where all this craziness came from, go check out Play Comics at playcomics.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
Ich bin ein
Science!
Cannabinoids, genetics, coronavirus, dogs. This is Petri Dish. We're a science podcast exploring complex subjects with clarity and evil humor.
Join the scientific revolution.
Join Petri Dish, dropping every Monday on anchor.fm/Petri Dish.
Hi, I'm Meredith Finch, and you're listening to Capes on the Couch.
And we're back. Treatment in universe for Roman. God help you.
Yeah, so Roman has me beaten just about every way. He doesn't have, as you like to call, a moral compass. He has incredible means. He has henchmen. He has everything that it would take to destroy me. And I would doubt he has an interest in talking to me. So I'll admit this is a little bit of deception. I'm going to roll with the idea that he likes masks. I want to give him an offer. I'm going to give him different masks. Here's the thing, though. They're not the types of masks that we think of with superheroes. We're not talking about his thing. We're not talking Red Hood. We're not talking Batman or Nightwing or blah, 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 blah. And don't get me wrong. If I mess this up, I mean, what can I say? I mean, he's already messed up. I'm going to give him a mask of his parents. I want him to wear his dad's mask. I want him to be able to try and figure out, play that role. What is it? Who is he? Because we've already established that he's phony. And you said it very well yourself. You don't know what he is, but whatever he was showing wasn't it. Well, then, you know what? You got those shoes now to fill. What do? It doesn't matter what you thought he was. It only matters what you want him to be now for your own well-being. Take that chance. Just because he showed you so many parts of a wrong path, and mom too, doesn't matter. I'm not gender discriminating. That doesn't mean that you couldn't learn from them. And that doesn't mean that you couldn't learn from them productively. When you look at things as winning and losing, then of course you look at that as a coin flip, not to reference Two-Face intentionally. But there's a much different way to look at it. You either win or you learn a lesson. So I think that gives a decent opportunity to him.
That is a fascinating idea. And you would definitely need physical protection, because I know with a high amount of certainty that he would not appreciate that suggestion, at least when you initially make it. Hey, you like masks so much? Put on your dad's mask. Let's see how you like that. Oh, snap. Yeah, that's going to go over like a fart in church. But I think it's a wonderfully unique treatment option. I know you like to spruce things up and always try and go for something different, so you're not just repeating yourself.
Yes, especially since, full disclosure, some people may wonder, does Doc think of these things ahead of time and have them planned out, or is he really just doing this on the fly? This one was on the fly, because even as you were asking, in universe, I was blank. I'm like, what on earth am I coming up with? So yes, once in a while, I usually have an idea, but this time I didn't. So I don't know what to say, but holy crap, I can't believe that came out of my own head.
Well, I think it's a testament to just how damn good you are. The fact that you were able to come up with something like that on the fly, that's pretty badass. So out of universe then.
Definitely not on the fly, because the idea of, let's go ahead and let's say it. And once again, not to be insulting, it's just the thing that many people consider a potential negative. So we're going trust fund baby, potential neglect, hasn't really had much other guidance other than go out there and do something in the world. And they're just, throwing lots of things at the wall and seeing what stick. The whole point is there's going to be a certain level of conceit. There's narcissism or whatever. Try and tolerate that. My personality, that makes me vomit, but you deal with it. The main point of therapy at that point is a little bit of modeling. Even if you're getting someone that's young as a child, like, it's absolutely modeling. This is what a healthy relationship looks like, is what a healthy human being does on a regular basis with another human being, in terms of basic interactions, in terms of expectations for following rules, for exploring things in a safe way rather than completely reckless. Recognizing that even if you think your resources are limitless, that setting certain restrictions for yourself can actually be empowering. The idea that money doesn't equal love. All of those things, if you're talking with a young child, are really, really important. Focus on life first, and then the other things will follow in place. Even if the parents aren't modeling it, you can do it as the therapist. And playing with the child at that level really does help. If we're talking everything else, if we're talking adolescence, if we're talking young adults, if we're talking older adults even, and this is the life that they grew up with, and now let's say they're dysphoric about it, meaning they don't like the emotional output that they get or the responses that they have when certain things, let's say, don't go their way, or even when they do go their way, they don't understand why it turns people off, and they don't recognize that their attitude is really off-putting. All of those things can be dealt with one by one, and really targeting them in each session. So let's take the idea. Yeah, let's go with it. How to be a good winner, because that can be incredible. Like the idea that, let's say you do have a great accomplishment. That's fine. You don't have to be so cocky and brag about it to everybody that you end up souring the experience for everyone else. Learning to take a compliment and recognizing that compliment in and of itself doesn't change your personal value, and somehow finding a way to make it derogatory towards others, because many people do that. Just giving this feedback on a regular basis and allowing them to understand that there is a life outside of the extremes, outside of the elite. And the sooner that you can reconnect with that, then the sooner you're going to notice that your emotions, which, by the way, don't have a boundary, your happiness or depression, other than abject poverty, I'll be honest, it doesn't depend on the dollar amount. It doesn't depend on the level of fame and whatnot. So once you reconnect with the base emotion, you'll actually notice that you'll get more enjoyment out of those other things when they happen. It's a really big deconstructive process, and one that, as I've mentioned in previous episodes, I don't mind rhyming. If we change the framework and instead, especially at this high elite status level when it comes to finance, if you change it from seeing a psychiatrist or seeing a psychologist or seeing a social worker and all that, and all of a sudden when you call them a guru, now, that's something that you got to put all your effort into, all your energy, because this is vital. When you change it that way, all of a sudden, wow, that's amazing. Why don't more people do this? And yet that's the framework that we live in. So that's what I go with.
So it's just about rebranding.
Hey, man.
It does work. Apple's been doing it for years. They take something that has already existed and they just rebrand it and they stick an I in front of it, or say, hey, we're doing this for the first time ever, even if it's a bald-faced lie.
Yeah, the beauty of therapy, though, is that you don't have to use planned obsolescence.
There you go. As you can tell, I'm not an Apple person. Hey, you get a little bit of real life in with the mental health discussions.
Yeah, just let me, text you my reaction on my iPhone here. I'm not texting you, don't worry.
That's okay. I have Google Voice, so I'm not really sure it would work anyway. So let's take all of this and see what happens when we get Black Mask on Dr. Issues' couch.
Hello, Roman. I'm Dr. Issues.
What do you want?
This isn't a house call. It's not like I asked to meet with you. You're required to.
I know what you're here for. Let's get this straight. I'm not trying to change. I've changed enough for my lifetime. Thank you very much.
I appreciate your honesty. Well, that saves me time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Oh man, I gotta try. Sorry, I'm not gonna give up.
Sucker.
As dangerous as this may sound, the goal of therapy for a thief may be to make him a better thief.
You can't be serious. Nobody's that stupid, especially against me.
I don't mean that literally, like being better at bad things for society. I mean being more in tune with your mental state so that you're better at your personal goals. What you do with them is none of my business.
What sort of backwards schooling did you do? This is nuts.
How long did you originally plan to talk to me?
Oh, about -2 seconds, and then find someone to kill you.
And how long have you actually talked to me? See, I've already exceeded your lowly expectations.
I can't get over how bonkers this is. You're just like that Harley chick. Same field. See, I know all shrinks are weirdos.
So what can this self-proclaimed weirdo do for you? I'm all ears.
You're really trying to analyze me, huh? Okay, then. I want my enemies dead. I want unlimited access to every major corporation's bank accounts in Gotham. I want enough firepower to take down a small nation's army. Or the Batman. It's about the equivalent budget. So, get to it. Chop, chop.
Not a single emotional goal. You really don't have the vocabulary for that, do you?
Who says what I want won't make me happy?
Well, how much did you have before?
Oh, gee, let me do the math. Carry the one. A hell of a lot more than you ever will.
And were you happy then?
Well, I wasn't locked up, chastised, and made to do interviews with the likes of you, so...
So, you didn't have the same intellectual stimulation, but you didn't answer my question. I appreciate your deflections. It's actually a strong intellectual coping skill.
How long are you going to keep up with this psycho crap? I'm not trying to be some prissy high-status goody two-shoes.
Fascinating. You equate being high status with somehow being good. I've definitely seen examples across a full spectrum with regards to that. Does that attitude date back to direct experience as a crime lord or from your interactions at a younger age?
It dates back to being annoyed by someone who's not a henchman, partner, associate, or target talking to me as if somehow any of this matters.
I see. So that's how you view your spheres of influence. If no one fits in those spheres, then you don't expend mental energy on them. That's actually another advanced skill, It helps you maintain the locus of control. How'd you learn that?
I don't know. It sounds like common sense to me. If someone isn't worth my time, then they're a guaranteed waste of my money. Best examples are the ones who keep asking questions when they've been given every hint to stop.
Oh, I'm picking up what you're putting down, but what about those that are in your, let's say, sphere of influence and you can't kick them out?
They don't exist.
Au contraire, I'm talking about your adversaries. They probably take up most of your mental bandwidth and they probably make you feel worse because you've lost to them.
I don't lose, I learn.
Honestly, you're really impressing me with your knowledge of mindset-focused techniques. how does that translate when you've had to make such a transition from full mob boss to anonymous inmate number?
It translates just fine because no inmate is asinine enough to have drawn-out stalling conversations with the man responsible for their death.
Oh, I'm definitely going to have to challenge you on that one. I mean, you're forecasting a future that may never happen. Look, I've even dealt with clairvoyants before, and they're not perfect either. So that type of bias is going to get you in trouble, man. You need someone to watch those psychological blind spots.
You're really just going to stand there and act like I'm not insulting you, not warning you to get the hell away from me? You think I'm nuts? You're off your rocker.
I mean, every conversation is an opportunity for growth, even when I have my own doubts of the benefit. I'm willing to try. Surprises only happen if you take a chance. Yeah. Honestly, how long have you focused on such a restrictive life?
Come here inside this cage. I'll show you restrictions.
Thankfully, we only resort to restraint when it's absolutely necessary. If you decide to be unruly, then 4 points are readily available, along with injection medication, depending on your symptoms. Yeah, thankfully, I don't have to directly get involved in that.
What's wrong? Too scared? Don't want to get your hands dirty and make the hard choices? You're soft, especially on the outside. I bet you go down after, let's say, 3 hits.
Well, I mean, I've been hit 4 times, got a broken rib, so you're probably not too far off. That case. I mean, he was a nice guy, though. I mean, just, he let his delusions get the better of him and happened to incorporate me. I don't hold any grudges. Now, you, on the other hand, you're all about making direct threats and intimidating people that really have no interest in such things, so... I'm sorry if I'm coming off aloof now. You're getting away from the meaningful topics in your life, and you're starting to show yourself as a Class D thug.
I came within inches of killing Batman. I left Stephanie Brown for dead. You want to call me D-Class? Do so at your own risk.
I just did. Your wit is sharp enough that I don't have to repeat what I said, Don't. But look, it's therapy. Don't miss the point that you present yourself that way, but you do have the potential to...
And we're done here. Todd, if you don't mind.
Wait, Todd, you're supposed to be protecting me.
Listen, you can lock up my body, but you never took the time to freeze my assets. And those are much more powerful than anything I can do physically. Having said that, let me show you what I can do physically. I don't normally enjoy this. Wait, who am I kidding? I love this. They said love what you do and never work a day in your life. In my case, that's been true since day one. Now then.
Good self-actualization.
Oh, if you think it's hard to speak now, let's see how well you talk when your jaw is in 3 pieces. The crowbar, please, Todd. Music to my ears. I would say that didn't go the way I thought it would, but I'd be lying.
Yeah, I had to get my jaw wired shut. Let's just say I don't think he was willing to do more CBT.
I don't think he was going to sign up for more therapy. On the bright spot, you can record an album with Kanye now.
Yeah, I guess.
Don't record an album with Kanye.
I don't think I could afford to. All right, I'll drop it. I'm sorry. We're doing fantasy here, people. I don't want people to get the wrong idea. But no, the thing I was going to say really was how much are they paying these guards? That's the second time someone's been paid off against me.
Whatever it is, clearly it's not enough. So maybe you need to dip into your personal funds and step up your salary on these folks, or at the very least, do a little more vetting of who's doing your security.
Fair enough.
So recommended reading is Batman War Games. It's largely a Batman story, as most of the Black Mask stories are, but this one has Black Mask taking a large pivotal role. This is also the one where he basically, for all intents and purposes, kills Stephanie Brown. It's a great story. So go check it out. We'll have links to it in the show notes. Upcoming episodes, John Walker to tie in right before the last episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I am thoroughly enjoying. That was an episode that we picked. And then Ruby selected Isaiah Bradley, who, spoilers, mild spoilers, plays a role in Falcon and Winter Soldier. And then Matt coming in hot with one of his thematic episodes, the idea of comic book death. So I know we talked about that from a legal perspective back in episode 75 on the Capes in Court, but now we're going to talk about the psychological impacts of a world in which death is not always permanent. So what does that do to folks? So as we said at the top of the show, go to podchaser.com and leave us a review. We will respond, and then money gets donated to Meals on Wheels and their COVID-19 relief fund. And you can find the rest of our episodes on our website at capesonthecouch.com. So go through our back catalog and see if there's anything that strikes your fancy. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Capes on the Couch. So please like, rate, and follow us there. And you get all sorts of fun, cool messages and additional content. And that's all I've got for this episode because it's late and I'm tired. So I want to go to bed. So, Doc, anything you want to add before we head out?
No witty puns this time. Just make sure that whatever mask you have to wear in certain situations, you learn how to take it off.
Truer words were never spoken. For Doc Issues, I'm Anthony Sitko. Thanks for listening. See you next week.
Capes on the Couch podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Dr. Issues is a psychiatrist, but he is not your psychiatrist and does not have knowledge of your individual situation. For any personal mental health concerns, please consult your own healthcare providers. For medical emergencies, please call 911 or the designated number in your area immediately. Remember that you are not alone and help is out there.